Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to take a look at how the simple act of measuring work has completely transformed, really, from a basic century-old practice into a super sophisticated, data-driven strategy.
You know, there's one question that's at the heart of all productivity. It's something every leader, every manager, every engineer thinks about daily. What is the one thing you absolutely, positively cannot make more of?
Yep, time. It's finite, right? Once a minute is gone, it is gone for good. And for any business, understanding how that time is being spent, well, that's the master key to unlocking efficiency.
And that's the real trick, isn't it? Because if you can't measure it accurately, if you can't measure it consistently, you can't manage it, and you for sure can't improve it. For over 100 years, the answer to this was pretty simple, but it was also really flawed.
So, let's start with how people used to try and solve this efficiency puzzle. For like a century, the tools were always the same. They were manual, they were physical. But as you're about to see, the game has totally changed. And this, right here, this is a huge leap. We are moving away from a process that was isolated and, let's be honest, full of human error. I mean, think about all that paperwork and doing math by hand, to a fully integrated digital platform. That shift turns a simple time study into an incredibly powerful, data-driven, strategic tool.
So how exactly does a digital platform pull this off? Let's take a look at how it basically digitizes that old stopwatch and what that really unlocks. Well, for starters, it actually gets the real-world complexity of work. See, unlike a simple stopwatch, a modern system knows that not all tasks are created equal. It can track the repetitive stuff that happens every single cycle, sure, but it can also track things that happen only every now and then, say once every 50 or 100 cycles. It can even time a whole process from start to finish, totally uninterrupted.
But just capturing the data, that's only half the battle. With the old clipboard method, every single time you started a new study, you were basically reinventing the wheel, defining the exact same tasks over and over again.
The genius solution is a central library of work elements. So instead of starting from zero every time, you can just pull these predefined, standardized pieces from studies you've already done. You just pick the building blocks you need, and boom, you can create a new study instantly. This saves a massive amount of time, and it also means all your analysis is built on the exact same, consistent foundation.
Okay, so now we get to a much more sophisticated and, frankly, a much more human part of this whole puzzle. Because work isn't done by robots, right? People get tired, they need breaks, and the work itself can be really demanding, physically or mentally.
So how do you account for this human element fairly and scientifically? Well, for decades, experts have been working to create a standardized way to do just that, to bring together all the criteria for what makes a job demanding, all based on deep experience and knowledge.
The answer is something called supplements. And these aren't just random guesses. They are carefully calculated allowances that get added to the base time to account for the very real physical and mental demands of a task. It's all about making sure that the work standards are both realistic and sustainable for the actual person doing the job. So instead of just guesswork, a digital system uses these internationally recognized standard tables to assign points. And every factor is considered. The physical strain of constantly bending over, the stress from being in a noisy workshop, even the mental load it takes to inspect really tiny detailed components.
And here's the crucial part. All these factors get methodically added up. What you get is a precise, totally justifiable and transparent percentage, an allowance for rest and recovery that is tailored specifically to the demands of that one particular job.
Okay, so you've captured all this nuanced timing, you've built your studies from a consistent library, and you've scientifically accounted for the human factor. What's the real payoff here? Well, the payoff is immediate clarity. All of those raw data points are instantly transformed into these powerful, super easy to understand visuals. You can see, just at a glance, the exact breakdown of a cycle. How much time is pure machine time versus manual work? And how much of that manual work happens while the machine is already running versus when it's stopped? These are the kinds of insights the old stopwatch could never, ever give you. And with this kind of clarity, you can directly connect your analysis to real business outcomes. You can go from just timing a task to accurately forecasting your productivity, like exactly how many pieces you can expect to make per shift. The data actually becomes a predictive tool.
But whenever you're collecting and centralizing all this incredibly valuable operational data, one really critical question has to come up, especially today.
And in today's world, that question, it's everything. I mean, if you can't trust the system with your most sensitive data, then nothing else really matters, does it?
A really robust platform tackles this head-on with multiple layers of security. It all starts with a provider that meets tough international standards, it encrypts all of your data so no one else can read it, and it uses technical safeguards to make sure your company's information is completely walled off and private.
So when you kind of step back and look at the whole journey, you see this complete transformation. Time and motion study it's no longer about clicking a stopwatch and scribbling on a notepad.
I mean, it has truly evolved. It's gone from being the standalone, error-prone manual task that gave you pretty limited insights into a core strategic process that's data-driven, built on standards, and gives you the kind of deep, actionable insights that actually drive real improvement.
And that leaves us with one last really important thought to chew on. We've gotten incredibly good at measuring the work we can physically see and touch. But as automation starts to handle more and more of that, the real challenge, the next frontier, is going to be figuring out how we measure and improve the efficiency of work that happens not on a factory floor, but inside our own minds.